Welcome to the Baltic Football Podcast, a Baltic football news podcast about Latvian, Lithuanian and Estonian football. We are back from the preseason and we are very excited for this new direction of our program. So now we are going to be covering football in all three Baltic states. We're changing the format a little bit, but it's still us and we're very excited to take you on this expanded and new journey. But you may be wondering, why are we covering Baltic football now?
Why are we covering Baltic football? Good question. I mean, after over 400 articles uploaded on the website, we've suddenly rapidly increased our knowledge of Lithuania, Estonian and Latvian football. I think our knowledge on Latvian football was already good, but it's been a good learning curve on these three countries. But I guess we're doing it because there's 30 teams in the top three divisions, all that have potential to get to Europe, all that have their own story to tell, covering some incredible cities across the country, the three countries as well. And we feel they've got a bigger message to give to the world.
Yeah, we love Latvian football, of course, as we have been covering it for the last 2 years as Latvian Football Podcast. But, it's so much cool stuff happening north and south. So we have merged with a number of our colleagues and friends to start this Baltic Football News project, which includes a website, www.balticfootballnews.com. Check it out for all the latest news in the football of Latvia, Lithuania and Estonia, as well as this podcast. And we're going to continue doing this and we're going to continue trying to show you more of the wonder and joy that lies behind this maybe language barrier for you, whether you're from Lithuania wanting to learn more about Latvia and Estonia, or you're from further afield curious about all three leagues. And they are fascinating, aren't they?
They are fascinating, and I think you made a good point there that one of the most challenging parts of gathering information has been the lack of information available in English. So hopefully we can bring that to you, and we hope you'll be part of our story as well, whether it's by commenting, subscribing and sharing our content.
Yeah, BalticFootballNews.com. This podcast, look for Baltic Football News on pretty much any social media platforms. We are everywhere now: Instagram, X, Blue Sky, TikTok, YouTube, of course. I'm sure there's a few I'm forgetting, but we are there for you, so you can get your information about Baltic football wherever you want to.
Yeah, we're pretty much covered.
We are covered
digitally.
We're covered so that for your convenience. And the leagues are fascinating. For example, of the three leagues, Lithuanian league seems to be the most equally balanced one. Did you know that?
Yeah, well, I mean, we had to write about every single club on the website, so I learned quite a lot there. But the difference in points, with exception to the first place, is you're looking at 4 or 5 points between second to sixth places. It's the fractional differences on where clubs finished. It seems a really competitive league. Hopefully there's a bit more of a challenge to first place. But yeah, very, very exciting about looking and watching the A-Liga this year.
Yeah, and the Estonian Premium Liga, one of the youngest leagues in Europe. They are so young. They don't have many foreign players. There's lots of young Estonians coming through the system. And we are seeing the fruits of that labor now as more and more Estonian youngsters are moving to really high-profile teams abroad. And we'll talk more about some of the most high-profile of them. But you can really see more Estonians making their way to Western and Central Europe in the coming years.
Yeah, I think Estonia is a really good country for football. You've got some beautiful stadiums, whether it's in Tallinn or I love visiting Pärnu, and there's a beautiful stadium right next to the beach there. But as you said, there's been some really good players produced, and they've done some quite good transfers as well, made a bit of money for some of the clubs as well, both foreign players as well as Estonians. So I think that's an exciting league. And Tallinn, Tartu, Pärnu and elsewhere, they're fascinating places to visit.
Yes, and of course the Latvian Virsliga, our nearest and dearest. We love all the things about it that we've already talked about for years, but the most internationally competitive league of the three. You have the Big Riga Derby, you have the Liepāja Derby, you have RFS competing in Conference League and Europa League, really putting the name of the Baltics out there into Europe and the world. And of course, it's not going to be that it's just us from Latvia covering also Estonia and Lithuania. We have friends who are helping us on the ground there, so you can expect very authentic coverage of football in the three nation states. And we will do our best to travel there to show you what it looks like firsthand as well. This is what you can expect from us coming into 2025, a podcast, a website, news and information about football in all three Baltic countries. It's very exciting. It's going to be great, I think.
Absolutely. And there's even a continuous train from Tallinn, Riga to Vilnius, Kaunas. So if you're looking for a bit of a either road tripping or railway interrailing across the Baltics, then, set up a good itinerary of football matches as well. But yes, there's so much on offer. It's the three leagues all bring something a little bit different, something a little bit alternative, along with some really exciting players, both from the native countries, but also there's some outstanding scouting going on from these clubs as well. So expect to see some hidden gems.
Yeah, and to get you familiarized a little bit with what's going on, we are going to be focusing this podcast around what's going on in those leagues. And as a bit of a taster, for example, did you know an exciting development in Lithuania that Vilnius Žalgiris, or FK Zalgiris, are going to own their own stadium again after quite a long interruption?
I did read about that on BalticFootballNews.com, and I've done a little bit of research. I watched a YouTube video on the LFF stadium as well, and I think it's an absolutely beautiful stadium. The VIP area looks pretty cool. On a summer's day, you've got three-sided stands. It's got a bit of a ropey history, but yeah, I think it's good to have a former national stadium that's being used by the leading club in Lithuania.
Yeah, so there's an interesting story about the stadium, which is actually two stories in parallel. First is the story of the stadium, which is now called LFF Stadium, but it goes back to 1957 when it was called Lokomotivas Stadium. It was rebuilt and renovated in 2004 by a team called FK Vetra, which probably means wind, if my Lithuanian is up to scratch. But they went bankrupt. They went bankrupt in 2010, which is when the Lithuanian Football Federation took the stadium over. That's the story of the stadium. Now let's rewind a little bit and look at FK Zalgiris, who had their own stadium, which was called the Žalgiris Stadium, which is also an old stadium with troubled history, built also in the 50s on the grounds of a Jewish cemetery.
Yeah, that was a bit big as well. 9,000 seats or more?
That was 15,000
15,000.
15,000 seats. It was the largest stadium at one point.
Yeah. And there were a couple of Damned United was also filmed there about the Busby Babes, I believe.
I don't know what any of those words mean, but
there was a movie about the ill-fated flight of Manchester United team.
All right. Okay. Well, another seems fitting given the nature of the stadium construction site. But Žalgiris notoriously had financial difficulties in the early 2010s, and they had to sell assets to negotiate their insolvency, so they had to sell the stadium. The stadium has been demolished as of 2016, I believe.
Yeah.
And Žalgiris were renting their grounds. So now fans started this initiative last year to get the Football Federation and Žalgiris to the same table where they can negotiate a preferential lease purchase agreement.
Yeah,
which that.
Well, they've got 10-year. They've got a 10-year lease which can be extended to 15. So a 5-year extension after that is from what I've seen.
And they have an option to purchase at the end. So it's a little bit like buying a car if your car is a stadium.
Right.
So you pay some monthly or whatever period, and then at the end you pay the remaining difference, and then you own the asset, which will be the LFF stadium for Žalgiris.
And the Vexo project has invested 3.5 million euros into the 10-year lease, which could be extended to 5.
They are one of the owners of Žalgiris. So that's exciting. One of Lithuania's premier clubs will own their own ground again, and no small thanks to fans.
Yeah, and Vilnius it's a great city, and it's actually not. It's just 400 meters from Vilnius Old Town, so anyone visiting, you can go and see the Gate of Dawn. I don't wish to attempt to pronounce it in Lithuanian, but I will. Aušros Vartai. Any Lithuanian listeners, please let me know about my pronunciation there. But yeah, it's an interesting stadium, and I think the main setback is there's an artificial turf, and it's had a couple of safety issues as well in the past. They had to remove the south stand due to, I think it was a Lithuania-England game. There were safety issues there, but all in all, I think it's you think it's quite an ugly stadium.
I never said that on record.
Okay,
no. I think it reminds me of Skonto a little bit. Skonto is great.
Yeah,
or the stadium in Oxford, also 3 stands.
Yeah, I like the big sort of balcony and the massive windows that overlook the field from the VIP area as well.
So exciting! You travel to Vilnius, so make sure to visit LFF Stadium, new home of FK Zalgiris. Another interesting and honestly something that makes me proud for our southern neighbors development. Gineitis, who plays in Serie A, scored his first goal in Italian top flight.
Yep, Northern Italy, Torino. Yeah, he seems to be slowly pushing into that first team. Very exciting player. Big guy as well, 1.91 meters. Fast midfielder, technically strong. Technical rather, and very physical as well. And looked very, very sharp. I saw some of the highlights when he scored for Torino, and he's looking like a very exciting player. 2023 Lithuania's Young Player of the Year as well, so he's got a lot of prospect. He's still very young, and he's for his age, he's a big guy already. And for considering he's so tall, he's looks like he's exceptionally good at finishing and technically good with the ball.
Yeah, no, he's been playing there for a bit of time now, and we're just very happy and proud of him for scoring a goal. Hopefully, one of many.
Yeah, good luck to him.
Not many players from the Baltics have the distinction of scoring in. I mean, Italy's still a top 5 league, right?
I mean, Torino's a good team. They had Joe Hart as their goalkeeper one time, and they've always in the shadow of Juventus, but they're a good team.
Who isn't?
Yeah, who isn't in the shadow of Juventus? Well, they did get relegated for.
Still, that just tells you the gravity of the.
No, Juventus got relegated due to match fixing, I believe.
Yeah. Also, not something particularly alien to our part of the world, but hopefully in the past. So it's exciting developments from Lithuania. Some of very many more you can find out at BalticFootballNews.com. We are covering Lithuania continuously. There's some interesting stuff going on here in Latvia also. Maybe some more pleasant than others. Do you want to start with?
Well, there's a lot of interesting things happening in Latvia at the moment off the back of a great European campaign for RFS, which I'm sure we'll cover at a later date. But yeah, there's been a few big investments occurring, particularly with the lower league teams, and some lack of investments for a former Virsliga giant, which I'm sure we'll talk about as well.
Yeah, so let's start with Grobina. So Grobina, you would know them as Grobina's SC LFS from last season, barely managed to save themselves in the Virsliga, had to play a relegation playoff against the JDFS Albert.
Of which they lost the first game in that playoff. They lost the
first leg, yeah, so then it was all up for grabs in the second leg away, which they pulled themselves together. Second
away leg in a snowy Riga, delayed kick-off because they had to get the snow off the pitch.
To clean the snow, yeah. It worked for the Kurzuma side. They won, they stayed up, and a few months later they renamed themselves into FK Grobina. So none of the Sported Centers stuff anymore.
Yeah, so we have to get rid of our scarf as well, which is a bit annoying.
We have a museum piece. Give it a few years, and when they win the Virsliga, we'll auction it off.
If you are Grobina, feel free to send us a new scarf as ours has expired.
Yes. And they announced a significant increase in their budgets. Now, people were puzzled. Does this have to do with the increased UEFA solidarity payments or what's going on? But no, it turns out LV Agro, their front of shirt sponsor from last year, which is a Latvian fertilizer manufacturer, well, there's an interesting story behind what happened.
Okay, I love a good love story.
It's a love story. So the owners of LV Agro, which is a father and son team, they agreed to support Grobina in their first season up, primarily because they're also from Liepaja, it's locals helping locals, even though businesses in Riga, it's just this very nice camaraderie happening in that city.
Yeah,
it's very communal. It's they have a bond. People from Liepaja.
Yeah, and I think the Liepaja derby last season replicated that. It was one of the most memorable moments of Latvian football in the last few years.
Yeah, the first one especially, so much passion. But all of that seems to have enamored owners of LV Agro to fall in love with football. And over the course of last season, they continued increasing their support and continued getting more involved into the running of the club, not in an intrusive way, but in this, I'm curious, I want to help kind of a way. So this year, and this was regardless of whether Grobina would stay up or not, they have upped their investment significantly. Up to a report that Grobina will have a budget of around 1 million in 2025, which is a good 5-time increase.
And there weren't any foreign investors in that consortium as well?
No one major.
Okay, I heard rumours that there was some Azerbaijani...
the owners of LV Agro are Azerbaijani ethnicity, but they're locals. And so, they're coming in as owners of the club. No major changes are made, and Grobina will look to challenge the top half of the table with their increased financial muscle. So it should be very, very interesting. Yeah,
I think there's certainly gaps in the Virsliga at the moment, with some teams slipping off, particularly, unfortunately, Valmiera, depending on what happens with them, which we'll discuss shortly. But I think they have a lot of opportunities, Grobina, but they've really got to recover from what they did last season, because they went, I think, 10 games, 10 straight losses or something. They really struggled. They've actually signed some good players. Well, a bit of experience with Glebs Klushakins, journeyman. He's played for 10 clubs. Plenty of experience. And Olgerts Rashserviskis as well, 92 games in the Virsliga.
You've been practicing your Latvian names, haven't you?
I've been having Latvian lessons, my ongoing Latvian lessons, starting to work on pronunciation, but especially after the last podcast where you put me up to the challenge, I've made my notes. But I think Grobina, we'll see how they do in the transfer window at the moment, and they still need to make a few other changes. They got rid of a few players as well.
Yeah, but it's a team to watch. Maybe for slightly different reasons this year than last year, but still it should be exciting. They are going to challenge Liepaja, who are looking very exciting themselves with the squad rebuild. So the Liepaja derby or the South Kurzeme derby, or whatever you will, how you wish to call it, should be extra spicy in 2025.
Liepaja seem like a force to be reckoned with, but I'm sure we'll be doing a review of all the leagues.
Don't they every year, right?
But their signings have been relatively impressive this season. They've got some big players, and they've made some statement signings, I think. So watch out for that Liepaja derby, because it's going to should be an exciting one.
It's throwing the gauntlet down to the big Riga derby for sure. But slightly less positive news, also coming from Latvia. Valmiera FC, the youngest new champions in Europe in 2022, have been denied a Virsliga 2025 license.
Yeah, well, they have, and they're appealing against it, so we'll wait and see what happens there. But it's sad, because if you look at the players that have come out of there, like Jakolta, he's making an impact for he's making an impact in Germany at the moment. The top scorer in Belgium is a former Valmiera player as well. they've got rid of so many players. It's a tragedy what's happening in Valmiera at the moment, and hopefully the owners can sort things out. But they've lost Bircher, Tonisevs, Os, the goalkeeper, has gone. Gaya's gone as well. So they've had their team completely emptied. So we'll see what happens. We looked at the tax that they still need to pay, and that's around 99,000 euros. Whether the federation think that's acceptable, they've paid off some of their debts and so on. We'll wait and see. But some big losses. Ndoye as well, top scorer last season. He's gone to Switzerland. Maybe that's in relation to the Swiss owners for trying to move some money around via players, but we'll see. But fingers crossed that Valmiera will still be in the Virsliga next season. But yeah, really sad what's going on at the moment. But pre-season is, there's still plenty of time to go in pre-season, and if they do get granted a license in the end, they still have time to build a squad. So it's not all lost at the moment, but they've got a lot of work to do, and they really need to pull their socks up, particularly the directors and the owners. And if they can't, then sell the club and look after the city.
Yeah. If they are not successful with their appeal, then FS Jelgava they've got the Virsliga license now. So if Valmiera do not succeed, then Jelgava will be the 10th team in the Latvian top flight.
And Valmiera were superior to Jelgava last season, so that would be a big loss.
Yeah. All right, moving on to Estonia, another exciting story of an Estonian youngster making his way abroad.
Yeah, dream come true for Tamm.
yeah, dream come true for Tamm. So Tamm, interesting story. It was a kid who started playing at 5 years old for Nomakallio, which is one of the talent teams.
Yeah.
And he lived like 20 minutes from the stadium that they played for. Wanted to succeed, wanted to become a professional footballer. Had a chance to do so in 2019, but then suffered a big injury which put him out of commission for a bit of time. Came back, winning both the Golden Boot and the Player of the Year in Estonia last season, and now signed for Olimpia Ljubljana.
I think that's a good signing for him. I think Olimpia Ljubljana, they actually visited Valmiera, saw that game in Valmiera. For a European Conference Cup qualifier or maybe it was a Champions League, my bad.
There was a pickup truck that drew by the stadium playing the Champions League anthem, since you're not allowed to during qualifiers.
the famous, the anthem that was played. I do recall what a great moment in Valmiera. And hopefully more memories like that will occur in the future. But going back to Tamm, I think Olimpia Ljubljana, beautiful stadium, good professional team. Slovenian football, it's done some good stuff in the past decades. They get to Europe quite often, particularly Maribor, Ljubljana as well. Very, very well run, organised team. So I think I think it's a good stepping stone, a sensible stepping stone from Estonia into Slovenia. He's scored Tamm's goals scoring record is pretty impressive. 66 goals in 160 games. He's scored 2 for the national team. When he was in the under 21 squad, he was scoring a goal every 2 games. I think similar to the Lithuanian player at Torino, Gineitis. He's also quite tall, 1.9 meters. Based on his videos, I had a few looks, watched a few videos on YouTube. He looks like a very natural goal scorer. He could be Estonians' very own Haaland, was my theory. But I think like Kaliu, they produce some really good strikers anyway. They recently sold the Canadian striker Promise David to Union SG for 400,000 as well. So good on that club for producing some great strikers.
Yeah. Well, Tamm, the Estonian Haaland, I like that. Let's go with that. Maybe he can also smile a bit more, in the videos. But it's a serious work.
Serious work, scoring goals. There's only the smile when you score.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, something that really caught my attention from Estonia has to do with women's football, which, by the way, is also something we cover on BalticFootballNews.com, and something that's important to us. Specifically, Serie A, a bit of a legend in women's football in Estonia, has signed with the Paide which is the Paide city team, to lead and develop their girls' academy, which they want to turn into the leading girls' academy in Estonia. And they have the infrastructure to do so, a new hall, a training center, but it's going to be a challenge that she says she's excited to test herself against.
Yeah, I think it's a good challenge. She's still quite young. She's only just retired from football. She's got a good international management record as well. She's also the manager of the Estonian women's national team. She's had some good wins. She beat Armenia, Kazakhstan, also Latvia as well. Got a draw against Lithuania. But there was a bad defeat, suffered 8-0 against Kosovo, even though they previously drew 2-2. But all in all, I think she's got a lot of, she seems like she's got a lot of experience, 208 games playing as well for Tamm. So good luck to her. And hopefully we can see more women's football compete across the Baltics.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the new coach of women's national team of Uzbekistan is Lithuanian as of now. So that's exciting. There's people of both genders coming out from the region further afield and representing our cultures and societies.
Yeah, there's actually been a few transfer movements as well of women players leaving the Baltics to bigger...
Especially from RFS.
Yeah,
4, I think, went to pretty large teams, including Slavia Praha, others that I don't remember.
Yeah, we need to check on the BalticFootballNews.com website, which is a great feature there.
Go under women's football, it's all there.
This is from all three countries. But yeah, I think Riga FC also they've made some good signings as well, and there's a few exciting things.
They made very good incoming signings. One of those signings this year won the Women's Player of the Year at the Latvian Football Federation Awards. But maybe, all right, this all sounds, I think, great and wonderful. But maybe you're wondering, all right, is there a way to really experience Baltic football, really, given that it's 3 separate leagues after all?
Yeah.
And our answer is yes, there is. It's pre-season. They're playing friendlies. Last year there was the Lithuania League.
Yeah.
That's not happening this year because of the Latvian Football Federation. Shame on you. But there are still friendlies, and we have some of our favorite pan-Baltic friendlies that some of which have happened, some of which are still happening.
Yeah, friendlies are a difficult one because it's a really important time to test new systems, test new players, see how players work together and so on. So there is an enjoyment to watching friendlies, but you can't really base the results or performances on that much, I don't think.
No, but it's still fun. And it's the same for both teams playing friendlies. So in that sense, there is some equality.
When you're pining for a bit of football action, and it's nice to go and follow a friendly. Absolutely, yeah. So
there are 4 that we want to share with you. And the first one already happened, which I thought was super fun. I call it the battle for the top Balt, which is Balt B-A-L-T, not B-O-L-T. That would be something with Estonia, but it's Zalgiris versus RFS, who played each other on 18th of January, just 5 days before RFS hosted Ajax.
5 days,
yeah. So that ended with a 1-0 win
1-0
for RFS with the penalty.
So in the past 2 friendlies, RFS have just scored set pieces.
Yeah.
Because they played Flori on the weekend on Saturday.
Yeah, that's the other friendly, the Lithuania Cup rematch.
So there's a great corner from Marez.
It wasn't a corner; it was a free kick.
I thought, was it a free kick?
Yeah.
It
may as well have been. The angle. But...
It looked like it was a corner, so my bad there. And then a penalty as well. So 3 goals from 3 set pieces.
Well, it's That's all good. Flora, I guess, improved a little bit. They lost 3-0 in the original Lithuania Cup and then 2-0 in this match.
They looked a bit better, Flora. They seem to be a bit pluckier, seem to be pushing a little bit more in attack and closing players down quicker, but they also suffered long periods of not being in possession. But they look like a better team than what I saw when they last played RFS.
Yeah, you were there in the freezing LNK Sporto Parks.
Yeah, great game, nice experience.
Yeah, a bit dark and snowy.
Just as winter was creeping in, it was a nice close to the season. Yeah.
2 friendlies that are yet to happen that you have a chance of getting in on include what I call the Baltic Borderlands derby, which is Sūduva of Lithuania versus Daugavpils of Latvia. Sūduva is located in the Lithuanian city of Marijampolė, which is basically on the Suwałki Gap, which is where Poland, Königsberg and Belarus meet. And Daugavpils, of course, is close to the Belarusian border in Latvia.
And Sūduva have got some very loud supporters as well. They're quite renowned for their loud supporters, according to my research when I was looking them up. But
So are Daugavpils Ultras, who we've spoken to last year. They're active as well in any sport that has Daugavpils involved.
I've been following them a little bit on Instagram. They seem to be involved in anything from basketball, indoor football.
So who's going to take this one? Who is the ultimate Baltic borderland champion? We'll see.
Daugavpils got they drew 0-0 with Kauno Zalgiris rather. So you never know. Daugavpils keeping clean sheets but not scoring goals. We'll see if they can do a little bit better from that.
Daugavpils, again, very obscure this preseason, much like last year.
Yeah.
So we'll see what's going on with them.
Sūduva, they struggled last season.
They have also narrowly avoided relegation.
So it was a playoff. They just won the playoff, the second.
Just won the playoff. But
similar story to Grobina, actually, in that sense.
Exactly, yeah. And then the final derby that we think is super exciting. It's on 22nd of February. I call it My Academy is Better Than Yours. It's Meta of Latvia versus Riterijai of Lithuania.
Yeah, this was an interesting topic that you created for the podcast, and I was desperately trying to seek information. It's so difficult to source information, and
not if you go to BalticFootballNews.com.
Not if you go to BalticFootballNews.com, because trying to find out how many international players Meta had produced compared to Riterijai. We'll have to practice that one over the next season, but it was difficult to understand how many international players had been produced. The best stat I got was that Riterijai.
Call them the Knights.
The Knights have had a high market value of players who've departed worth 4.61 million euros. So players that have left the Knights have been valued at that much in the 23-24 season, whereas Meta total player departure value in that season was 870,000. So, the Knights have produced players that have increased in value compared to Meta.
Riterijai, despite having trouble attracting local fan base, are known for their academy system in Lithuania. So now that they're back in A-Lyga after a year's absence, certainly worth keeping an eye on them to see what up-and-coming talents you can spot.
And where in Lithuania are they based? Vilnius, yeah, I was going to say. And they because they were playing at the LFF stadium, were they not?
Yeah. I mean, there's not that many stadiums.
Yeah.
Much like in Riga.
Well, I think, but the national stadium is now in Kaunas as well.
Yeah. Kaunas has a brand new stadium.
It's brilliant. Yeah. Estonia and the Lecoq Stadium.
Lecoq Arena.
Yeah.
That's not brand new, but
no, but there's still a very professional, good-looking stadium. Yeah. Same with Kaunas as well.
Latvia is the one without a decent stadium.
But yeah, the Daugav Stadium produced an incredible memory this month. So
we have European football here, but no European stadium.
It's a bit of a fortress, the Daugav Stadium, at the moment, with a running track, and trains going past it during massive games, honking the horns.
Yeah. So that is a little bit of a taster of Baltic football. If you want to find out more of what's going on, head to balticfootballnews.com and see what's there. We are going to delve into Baltic football throughout this year and years to come, and we're very excited to take you on this journey with us.